Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oi, oi, oh no. Tszyu is being put in a must-win situation. Now, excuse me, goddamn burping, right? Hey, check this out. So Tszyu, I really like Tszyu. I think Tszyu is no kidding a true fighter. He comes in the ring, he's gonna give it all. He's gonna give it his all, win, lose, or draw. Tszyu's coming to fight. The fact that he had a little bit of a setback against Fundora, I don't think it's because of anything Fundora did in the ring, except for the, unintentional elbow, whether you think Tim was being too aggressive or, Fundora was being too reckless. Doesn't matter. It wasn't done intentionally. Neither individual were trying to foul each other. But things happen in boxing, right? But he had a bit of a setback, losing to Fundora, losing his belt. Fundora is now unified WBO and WBC champion at 154. But if you take a look, this just shows you how fast the tide can turn, man. Fundora, last year, outstanding wins, comes to make this big grand arrival at the United States and fight a big name, Keith Thurman. That probably was a sign that for Tszyu, a lot of things are going to go downhill for him. Keith Thurman, one of the biggest names in boxing, even though Keith Thurman has been inactive. Right there before the fight was supposed to happen, Keith Thurman has an injury, right? That's what they say. They put Fundora in. Now, just take a look at it, right? Because I'm always about the secret society talk. Do you think, as a boxing fan, that Keith Thurman is or would have been more of a threat to Tszyu than Sebastian Fundora? We understand what Keith Thurman has done in the past. Keith Thurman deserves all the credit in the world, right? But he's been inactive. Fundora's coming off a little bit of inactivity, but when you look at the size and dimensions and everything else, right? Let's be real. Who do you think would have presented more of a challenge for Fundora? And some people are going to say Keith Thurman, the lateral movement, being able to punch while he's moving, the power, the IQ, the killer instinct. Some people say Fundora, cockroach man, 6'5", 6'6", 80-inch wingspan, like crazy, okay? Or 80-inch reach. I don't know what his wingspan would be. Probably more like, probably got like a 7-foot wingspan. He like Webinyama and shit. But anyway. So now Tszyu, this is what they're trying to do. You got Virgil Ortiz, right? Who I'm still going to refer to Virgil Ortiz as a killer. At 147, Virgil Ortiz was out here destroying fighters. He, like Artur Beterbiev, has a 100% KO ratio. But the thing about Virgil Ortiz is he was ill, dealing with rhabdomyolysis, supposedly from overtraining. Anyway, he already had a return fight where he got a first-round stoppage. Is what it is. Some people thought it was premature, but it looks like the fight was going to go only one direction, which was Virgil Ortiz, just bludgeoning his opponent and ending up at some point getting a KO. So now Virgil Ortiz returns this weekend, fighting a fighter named Delorme. Delorme has 6 losses. I would kind of call him a veteran now. I think Delorme is one of those gatekeepers in boxing now. Really outstanding fighter in his prime. Still a decent fighter, but I'm not so sure he's going to put up that much of an effort against Virgil Ortiz. But the thing is this. Virgil Ortiz is now fighting at 154. And I'm not so sure if Virgil Ortiz, right, if he still has what made him that beast he was at 147 before the rhabdo. You see, now that he's gone through all that stuff with the medical issues, the inactivity, I'm not so sure he can return to form. But let's just say he gets in the ring this weekend, and he's the Virgil Ortiz that fought Kavaliauskas, that fought Maurice Hooker. The Virgil Ortiz is out here destroying fighters, right? That means that means Virgil Ortiz has knocked the ring rust off, and then he's going to go right back into another training camp and get ready for Tszyu. Tszyu going to come off of being inactive to go up against a monster. And it's going to be a must-win fight for Tszyu. And it's must-win for Virgil Ortiz too, but Virgil Ortiz, he doesn't want to take any more time off. He doesn't want soft touches. He wants to fight the biggest names out there for the championships and for the biggest amount of money. But when you look at Tszyu and where he was, and look at where he ended up, kind of lets you know how boxing politics can help build a fighter, how they help break a fighter down and push him out the sport. So what happens if Tszyu gets in here with Virgil Ortiz and he loses? So now Tszyu comes off of a loss to Sebastian Fundora. Then he comes against another loss to Virgil Ortiz. 2 back-to-back losses, 2 back-to-back defeats. So in 2023, he has a massive year where he ascends to the top of the 154-pound division on many people's list, right? And then in 2024, I mean, when I look at it, I'm like, damn, what are they trying to do to this man? But I get it. There was some poor management decisions made with Tszyu faced Fundora across the board. But Tszyu's a warrior. He pushed through it. He gets all the credit in the world. But I'm telling you right now, in my opinion, if Tszyu and Virgil Ortiz, because they're both physical fighters, right? So a mishap could happen where somebody gets cut, gets injured accidentally, and it could hinder their performance going forward in the fight. I personally think if something like that happens in this fight, before round 4, I think Tszyu and his team hopefully will say, let's just stop the fight, call it a no contest. He lives to fight another day without taking another loss. Because let me tell you something, man. Unless you, like Joseph Parker, who can go out here and start, take losses and then somehow have your career resuscitated to get back amongst the elite in your division. I'm just not so sure it happens for Tszyu. Now in Australia, he's loved. They're crazy about him. You know what I mean? I like the way Tszyu fights too, man. He got my buy-in just seeing what he did last year. There's something special about Tszyu in the right hand. But I'm not so sure about Tszyu as a combination puncher. Can he do it? Sure, I'm sure he can. But Virgil Ortiz, especially if he returns to form, Virgil Ortiz can fight. Virgil Ortiz has the punch volume, the power, he has the conditioning, he has the chin, and he has that grit. Virgil Ortiz is not an easy fight. So when I look at it, I'm like, damn, for Tszyu to come off of a loss to Fundora, why? I mean, if you're gonna put Tszyu in with someone, why didn't they just put him in against a bigger name? Because when you're talking about the risk versus reward, I mean, damn, at least if you're gonna get into somewhere you could possibly lose to someone like Terence Crawford, lose to someone like Madrimov, but to lose to a guy who's coming up from 147 and coming off of being sickly, you know what I'm saying, and inactive. I just think the boxing community is not going to be very forgiving to Tszyu. Now, for Virgil Ortiz, if he loses to Tszyu, I think everybody kind of forgives him. I think he's going to be a little bit of a pity party there, and some compassion. A lot of compassion is going to be shown, because we know that there's an underlying concern about Virgil Ortiz in his health and Virgil Ortiz's ability to continue to compete at a high level, especially in a new weight division. So Tim Tszyu's in a must-win fight. Ortiz is, I don't think it's must-win for him. I think would be nice to win, especially the fact that Golden Boy wants to continue with their momentum, because Ryan Garcia has just, he just springboarded himself. He was already the flagship fighter, but they were trying to build Ortiz to be the flagship fighter for Golden Boy. But Ryan Garcia had just, springboarded himself to superstardom. And this could be the fight where Golden Boy has another fighter in Virgil Ortiz, if he can do the business to Tim Tszyu. Well, now you got another fighter who just springboarded himself to superstardom. And Golden Boy's looking good. But I'm going to tell you right now, maybe Tim Tszyu needs to put a $2 million bet on himself, like Ryan Garcia did, to add extra motivation to fight to the death, so you don't lose that money, and you can go on to bigger and better. Because I just think the way it looks to me is almost like, damn, it's almost seems like they're trying to push Tim Tszyu out of boxing. But it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Turki Al-Sheikh is involved. Of course, Virgil Ortiz has the win. They'll be fighting on the undercard of Terence Crawford and Madrimov. Obviously, there'll be some good money on the table for him. But boy, we just got to sit back and see, man. I'm still out here chanting, Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oi, oi, oi. But I got to be real when I say oi, oi, uh-oh. Because Virgil Ortiz is a monster. Now, for the Aussie fans out there, do your due diligence and go out there and look up Virgil Ortiz, boxer on BoxRec. Look at his highlights against Kavaliauskas. You watch that. Now, I don't think he's still that same fighter. I personally don't. I hope he is, because then we get a great fight, because we know Tim Tszyu is coming to put the Aussie Bing Bings on a fighter. But we just got to wait and see how Virgil Ortiz looks this weekend as he gets ready for Delorme. But that's the plan. Tim Tszyu going into, in my opinion, a must-win fight against a fighter who was a killer, and we'll find out this weekend if he's still Mufasa, roaring like a lion, or if he turned into Garfield, meow, and is a pussycat now. But nonetheless, still should be a good fight, no matter what happens, because both of these guys are all about maximum violence when they get in the ring. Y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans. 7 continents in the